Awesome. Welcome to their edition of Chris and Ross, Real Talk with Chris and Ross show, episode number 22. We are now in the double digits. It's exciting that we've had this show podcast going on for a while. This is catered to, honestly, realtors across nationwide because Ross and I obviously are realtors. We're in this field, combined probably history of over 30 years, got a lot of knowledge and a bandwidth of excitement here that we're sharing with everybody. And we hope that we can add value to those that are listening out there in the podcast world. And also, we kind of cater to those that are entrepreneur-minded, forward thinkers, visionaries. We love those kind of individuals as well. But all in all, we just love to add value, and we also keep it real, as we talk about. So my co-host is every week, Ross Rawson III. What's up, Ross?
What's going on, man? How you doing today, Chris? Looks like we got a good guest on today.
Oh, we got an
Mr.
amazing
Kevin KAUFFMAN
guest
in the house.
Yeah, we do.
I would reserve that comment for later. Wait till I'm done.
We'll stash that as TBD. No, seriously, yeah, we are honored. I mean, honestly, Kevin KAUFFMAN, a really great friend of mine here. Obviously, we've been connected through EXP, but dude, just an amazing individual. Just love his energy, man, and he's just a super humble kind of guy. But we're going to interview him today. For those out there in the podcast where they don't know who Kevin KAUFFMAN is, you will by the end of this call.
Let's go.
So honestly, we're excited to have you, Kevin. Kevin, thanks for taking time out today, my friend, and actually, being able to jump in this call with us today.
Dude, my pleasure. I'm glad we finally got the chance to do it. Schedule's been crazy lately, as we were talking about offline, and so I'm glad we finally got the chance to knock this out.
I know, right? Well, I mean, you're doing a lot of great things right now, right? Which requires a lot of attention. You come from a massive real estate team you and Fred Weaver have built over the years. I mean, that's massive in itself. Now you've brought that into EXP, and now you put that on steroids, and you're just taking it to a whole nother level. So I get it.
Dude, you know what? I'll be straight with you because you know me. I'm sort of an open book. It hasn't the reason why I think I rescheduled twice or three times. But this year's been weird, dude. Not to just pitch EXP out of the gate, but at the end of the day, I just had a bunch of personal stuff come up this year, and I haven't worked. When I say I haven't hardly worked, I haven't hardly worked. And it wasn't last year I took the most time off I'd ever taken off in my, I don't know, I guess 15 years in real estate. I'm coming up on 16 now next month, I think. I'd taken off the most time ever last year, but that was on purpose. I purposely took off 2 months in the summertime to sort of relax and rejuvenate and just kind of get my mind right on some things. But then I got forced into some time off the first part of this year that I wasn't wanting to for personal reasons. And luckily, because of, the opportunity that EXP has given us, my income didn't even not go down, it went up. In a bad market, my income has gone up. And I when I say I haven't worked this year, and I'm not saying this from a bragging standpoint, I'm saying it from I'm so thankful standpoint, is I really haven't hardly had anything to do this year. And so it's been a rough go personally on a lot of fronts, but business wise, it's continued to build. And I haven't had to worry about that. And that's been really amazing, to be honest with you, especially in time when times have been not the funnest.
Right. No, 100%. I mean, if you cross the board, most realtors last 18 months have struggled tremendously, scrambled around trying to figure out how to get business going. And your story is appropriate. I think just on a level of humanity, every human being on this planet has some personal level going on in their life that most people have no idea. Yeah. Right. They always talk about that. You have no idea what somebody's going through. Everybody's going through shit right now.
Sure. It's true.
It's true.
Well, and as entrepreneurs too, right? We always come into real estate for the freedom of time and flexibility. And to hear you say, hey man, I built a business now to the point to where, hey, life did happen, but I had the ability to be able to adjust because of this model, because of this, new exciting thing that's happening and taking over in your own personal life, that you're able to hyper focus, turn off everything and really focus in on your life. That's powerful, man.
Yeah, it has been. It's been, and it's taken some, like anything, it comes with perspective, right? Because sometimes when things suck, no matter how bad, if you will, if you want to grade how much things suck, no matter how much they suck to you, right? Whether it's something that's not really that bad or really is bad and life changing, it still sucks to you, and you got to remember that and to deal with it. And everyone's dealing with stuff like this, and in different levels. For some people it's personal, some people it's business, some Some it's both. Sometimes it's family members. Sometimes it's, you yourself and or friends or whatever. And the case is like the fact of the matter is like life happens. And no matter what we do, life happens, and you can either deal with it or you can not deal with it. And I'm just feel really lucky and fortunate that I've had some people in my life to help me remember, like, hey, you actually built and designed things the way to be able to like handle this. And so, you could be upset about it or you just be thankful about it. And I've chosen to mostly be thankful about it.
I love it. So a place of gratitude, right, is where it always comes from. I love that. The word perspective. I really want to talk about that real quick if I could, because I think that's a underrated approach that people don't really like understand. Because you're right, whatever you're going through in life, like there's 10 other probably million people on this planet that would take your life in a second, that would switch with you in a second, because they're going through like 10 times worth shit, right?
Dude, most of us, especially if you're an entrepreneur, the 10 year ago version of you would switch places with the now version of you in a second. Much less everybody. Like, you think about that, like, especially if you're the type of person that like likes to go out and get shit done and like make things happen, and you actually produce results. Like, think about where you were, man. I remember, I don't know why I thought about this the other day. So I have this wall. Sorry, this is totally off base.
No, do it. This is what it's about.
Keep it
so
real.
I own one watch. I used to wear watches. I don't know why I liked them. And then I got tired of having shit on my wrists. And so I don't wear any watches for years. And I got rid of them all. I gave them all away or to my family members and friends that like watches. But I kept one. I bought this one for my wedding day. And I've not worn it since. I think I've worn it maybe once or twice since. And at the time, it was expensive to me. It was a very expensive watch, like $1,000. And I remember thinking at that time, and so I got married the same year I got licensed, 2007. And I remember thinking, like, there was this other watch in the store that was $5,000. And I remember thinking, like, dude, I could not buy that watch. Like, how much money would I have to? I remember thinking, like, if I made $150,000, I'd buy that watch. I could totally buy it. And then whatever, I ended up not liking watches, so it doesn't matter. But I remember at that time in my life, making $150,000 in a year was such a big deal to me that I was like, I would waste or blow $5,000 on a watch, because like that, to me, that was like the peak of what success might look like, because I was so far away from even that at that point. So you just think about like where you were. Granted, that was 15 years ago or 16 years ago, not 10 years ago. But the point is like, the guy that day, Kevin that day, would trade places with me today in an instant, right? Would love to. That guy would love to accomplish what we've been able to do in real estate over the years. And it's easy to forget about that. And I just happened to look at that watch like yesterday or the day before, and so it happened to be fresh on my mind.
I love that, man. What a great story. But it puts things into perspective again, though, right? Like you're just
really
saying.
Does.
Just real quick, I want to set the stage for those who are listening, by the way, who don't know who Kevin KAUFFMAN is. Kevin, real quick, briefly, I mean, let's talk about some of your stats, your career, of what you're at. I mean, it's not like you're some mediocre realtor who sits there and closes 10 deals a year, right? And struggles. I mean, let's keep it real. Like, we're talking, like, I love this because you're really kind of being very vulnerable right now, and you're sharing with some of your humanity of who you are, and that it's impossible for anybody to go through these struggles. But you're at somebody who's a very, very high level. You've done everything at a very, very high level, and yet you're still struggling with this too. So kind of set the stage for us, if you could give some people maybe the insight of who you were a little bit and who you are.
Yeah. So, I mean, on the real estate side, so I've got a business partner, Fred. It's his desk. You can see over my shoulder. Like if it was the other way around, you can see my desk is super messy. You can see that his is like super clean. Like we always joke, like, if you walk in our office, you don't have to guess whose desk is whose. If you know the two of us, you'll know whose desk is whose. So we started working together February of 2008. So 15 years ago now. And we started just trying to help each other with short sales. Like it was 2008. We were both doing short sales. We both were, we had both hired his brother actually as like our kind of assistant to do some of the stuff we didn't want to do. And we were negotiating short sales with banks. I had just got licensed like less than a year before. All that to say, like we ended up turning we were just trying to share resources and not be alone, not like fight the banks alone. into a business, right? So eventually we started generating more business because we were seen as business partners, right? So we started a team and all that. And that team grew and grew and grew and evolved over the years. I think the most homes we've ever sold in a year is like 550 homes in a year. We've had as many as, probably 100 names on the roster because we have expanded. We still sell real estate outside of Phoenix, but although Phoenix is home base for us and our home market, but we've been selling real estate in Denver since 2014. So we've had different iterations, like all short sales. Then it was like back to just me and Fred were the only listing agents in 2013 and 14. And we were doing all the deals. Then we had salaried agents. And then we're like, man, I got to get out of the trench. Like I made a decision sometime in 2014 that I never wanted my income to depend upon me sitting in someone's living room, taking a listing agreement. I could do that. I still can do that if I want to. I just didn't want my monthly income to depend on that. And so because of that, we made certain decisions around our business that required we make less money in the short term and that we get better at training and hiring and recruiting. And so we did that. And that's how we eventually expanded out into multiple markets. It's how we eventually had, I say 100 names because we didn't really like have 100 agents that were working. That was people coming and going, people just getting licensed, people getting into production, people leaving, stuff like that. But the reality is that we've had different iterations of our real estate sales business over the years. What it's looked like over the last few years has been very hands-off. Like if you're familiar with the Millionaire Real Estate Agent book and those models, it's been a very almost 7th level business for me, probably more like 6.5. So what I mean by that is I probably spend an hour to 2 hours a week in the business. Fred, though, probably spends a little more, like 3 to 5 hours a week, sometimes 7, 8 hours a week in the business over the last few years, but a very hands-off business. It's been very automatic for us. In fact, over the last couple of years, we've really tried to stop growing it. And as we focused on EXP stuff and just other businesses that other interests, if you will. And we both have young children. And so we've concentrated more on time off as well. And so it's looked a lot of different ways over the years. And even here we are, dude, it's April of 2023 that we're recording this. And we've got another change again this year. Fred and I partnered with Place, which is it's hard to explain, though I'll do my best. It's a partnership platform, if you will, for real estate teams for a number of different reasons, which I can get into. And so, we recently promoted somebody that had been with us for 6+ years, who is now the director of sales and kind of in charge of that side of the business and growing it. And so it's got another iteration again, if you will. And so we're kind of always changing and always evolving with our real estate sales business. And yeah, it's definitely been a ride.
Love that. I have some questions for you, man, right off the cuff of that, because a lot of times as an entrepreneur, and I hear the growth and really your ability to pivot. You pivot well and you have a good business partner to identify that, those things that you want to go into and what's next. One of the things I see a lot of people get caught up, though, is that analysis paralysis, right? They'll overanalyze the business plan. They'll overanalyze the systems. They'll overanalyze everything before they get into it. What would you say, though, while you were growing this process, figuring out from the short sales to the team, to the production, to now I, maybe don't want to do the listing presentation. Like, did you guys have a formulated, like, hey, we're going to sit down, we're going to hammer out these systems? Or was it kind of like a plug and play, bootstrap it, we're going to figure it out as we go?
Yeah, it's more of like figuring out as you go, right? Like, what's the saying? Kind of, you're building the airplane as you're flying it. That's really what it's been like. The reality is my friend and business partner, Ben Kenny, says, he's always said this to me, that we use complication to justify inaction. Mm-hmm. So we let things be complex or complicated to justify our lack of taking action, right? And so there's this level of like, you got to go take action, and you also got to be willing to adjust on the fly. And the reality is like it's never going to be perfect, and that's okay. And you just got to go, right? You just got to go. And then you also have to be smart enough to know when it's time to make adjustments, because people tend to people lose, they miss the nuance of it is go, 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 but it's not all go, 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 go. Eventually you have to take feedback from when your systems are breaking down, or your client experience isn't happening the way you want it to, or whatever the case is, or everyone's leaving you because you're a terrible leader, whatever. Eventually you got to take that real-time feedback and then tweak things, but you got to tweak things while you're moving. You can't just we can't sit in a lab. We can't all be like Dr. Dre and be in a lab, right? we can't do that. We actually have to do it while we're moving forward, and it's so overused, but it's overused because it's also, there's a lot of truth in it, which is that term fail forward, right?
Yeah.
You got to be willing to be wrong, and just keep moving.
That's good. That's good.
That's crazy though. The key though is just doing it, like you said, right? People they sit around and worry about the how. How am I going to do this? How is this going to work? How are we going to find this? How are we going to make this work? It's just the do. And you said you fix it on the fly, and it does. We overcomplicate things, then we use it to justify our inability to actually do it. It's just action. It's just stupid freaking action, man.
Dude, it really is. It really is. I had a mentor one time tell me, he said, the guy who knows why will always employ the guy who knows how.
There we go. I love that.
You gotta, if you know why you're doing something, the how will show up. Doesn't matter.
That's great. Yeah. That's great.
I'm actually reading that right now in the Napoleon Hill book, How to Own Your Own Mind. It's one of the things is having a definite purpose. When you have that definite purpose, right? You have that definite purpose, then you throw in that the loss of self-doubt, this loss of failure, the faith, and behind it, and then massive action. Yeah. But having a definite purpose, man. When you have a definite purpose, so I want to breathe because I'm underwater drowning. My purpose is to get to the top to fucking breathe. That's your definite purpose. By all means, the only thing you're thinking about, right? And all your energy is focused on that. That's it. There's zero things around you that are bothering you other than get to the fucking surface and breathe. So I love that. We got to find out. I'm learning that, Kevin. I'm figuring out my definite purpose too.
Come on.
So it's that. But I appreciate you sharing that as well.
That's awesome.
What do you got there, Ross? Any more questions for him?
Yeah, man. No, I got a couple more for you.
Go for it.
You got a lot of experience. And I think for our listeners, at least, there's a lot to pull away from here. So, I love one, that you scaled your team. 550 units in a year, man. You're moving, right? Now with that, and you have a business partner, one of the key things that, I at least think about is, well, how did you operate so well in that partnership? I know you made the joke that, hey, his desk is cleaner than yours, and you guys kind of maybe have those different personality traits of, one's good at this and one's good at that. But while you were building that partnership, how did you really define those roles of hey, you're going to go operate this, I'm going to operate this, and, we're still committed to growing this same thing, because that can also be a thing, especially with, alphas, right? Just anyone who's really a good leader. Sometimes one person wants to take, the lead, and the other person has to sit back. How did you navigate through that process to find out what worked for you and your, business partner? And that's maybe kind of the same question of running and gunning, but I figured you could maybe open that up a little bit.
It kind of is in a lot of ways. So let me just be really clear. I believe we got very lucky. And we're the perfect match for business partners, right? 15 plus years going strong, and people don't even believe me. We never had an argument. There's nothing to argue about.
Wow.
Right? Because here's the deal: when we disagree, we've been really lucky, and we've also done a few things that have been smart that would help you avoid problems in a partnership. And what I mean by that is, first of all, we both have fairly the same vision. We started our business. We were both newly, Fred and his wife Amber got married a few months before my wife and I got married, which was both the year before him and I started working together. So we both have kids. His son is 6, almost 7. My kids are 8 and 10. So I think part of it is we've been in very similar places in life, with very similar goals. And we didn't really define things at the beginning. We sort of just shared the workload, because we're both sort of whatever's got to get done's got to get done type of people, right? And And so because we both took that approach, I think we both learned to trust each other. And then what became evident finally after years of being partners was that we realized, hey, there's some things that I'm better at, that I'm more naturally inclined to. It's not even that I'm better at it. It's more like it's in my natural wheelhouse. And then there's stuff that's more closer to Fred's natural wheelhouse to do that takes less energy, right? And so I laugh because I kind of joke about this. Like if you were to send the two of us an email today, and you needed something from us, the person whose ever job it really would be to handle it would handle it. The other person wouldn't even acknowledge the email. And and when I say that, I mean, we wouldn't even say it to each other because we just kind of know it's like, oh, that's really more in my wheelhouse or that's more in your wheelhouse. And so we just do it. Right. So there's still this sense of like, we just do what's got to get done. We just happen to know sort of where we fit a little bit more in the business. And it took a number of years to get there. And we've never once argued about money, not even once.
That's big.
Literally not even once. And we did some things to set us up for success with that. And we didn't share money equally at first. I mean, not even for like the first 3 years. We kept adjusting it, but the reality is we were both in situations prior to working together where we felt like we were in partnerships and the only people kind of really pulling their own weight. And so we set it up so the other person could not live off the other person financially. And then even as we brought that closer and closer together over the years, we still never took that for granted, right? And so we've never fought about money. We never really fight about decisions either. And the reason why is because the few times we disagree, usually one of us cares more than the other one. And so we just do whatever that guy wants. Because the thing that we both know is that if it doesn't get us the result that we want, we're going to stop doing that and we're going to do something different. So there's sort of like, as long as there's really no ego involved, that we're both after the result, then we don't really care. Like, I don't care if it's my idea or Fred's idea, or if he gets credit or I get credit for something that is good or bad, as long as it gets us closer to what we want.
That's good.
That's a level of maturity, business maturity, I think, right? Because I've actually had business partners back in the day too, and it sometimes didn't work out as good as yours, Kevin.
Dude, I've had other business partners too where it also didn't work out as good, and I had to just be like, see ya, see you later,
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's 15 years, man. That's some time.
That is. So it's good that you guys are so symbiotic in so many ways, though. And you're right. You're lucky. It's hard to find that, I call it unicorn type relationship in business because it really doesn't really coexist usually. I mean, even when it comes to hiring, right? Hiring an ISA, hiring admin, hiring all your first, employees. It's always like, wow, you're going to hire 5 and then probably keep 1, or go through 10 and probably keep 2. It's just always what it is. And it's great that you guys have found that ability to stay in parallel with each other on all levels, sounds like, minus the infractions of, he's probably cleaner, you're probably messy, which in some scenarios it's like the odd couple, right?
Yeah.
And in that scenario, but it works for you guys because you guys stay focused probably on the one thing, which is like you just said, I love it. You guys are just looking to move forward, whatever it takes to move forward. And you guys both have the same objective, same goals, same concept, same dream. It doesn't matter what gets in the way. It's like you guys are both trying to attain that goal, and whatever it takes to get there, that's it. Period. Done. End of story. Right.
Yep.
All egos aside, we just got to accomplish one goal here.
Yeah.
So I love it, man. What's your other question, Ross? I'm gonna let you run away because I know Kevin much on a different level.
Yeah. Okay. I'll keep it going. So what would you tell an entrepreneur that's out there right now, maybe trying to grow a team, grow a business, like maybe some of the 3 principles or, 3 things, or even if you have a couple or just 2 that are, I mean, I love the fact that you talked about trust. Also, being humble enough to say, hey, you know what? I believe in my business partner. They're identifying, they're passionate about this. Let's roll with it, see if it works. I mean, that takes a lot of, humility to be able to set back and let people lead and things. I love that. But if there's an entrepreneur out there trying to start a team, maybe they already have a team and they're trying to scale it. What are some things that they could maybe try in their business today that you think would help take them to the next level?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think there's a lot of things to be straight with you, Ross. Like, there's a ton of things that they could do. One thing that stands out to me, and this is like speaking more to probably real estate teams than anything else right now, though I'm sure that's probably a good portion of the listeners. So I think like right now, with it being a challenging market or different market, especially for those who haven't been around for a long time, I'll call it say 10 years or more. So this is the first challenge in a market that we've experienced in real estate in quite some time, right? This is an amazing opportunity to grow and get past, because so many people have looked so smart for the last few years that we're really just in the right place at the right time. And, and not to take away their hard work, because maybe they did things right. Maybe they became excellent salespeople. Maybe they got good at advertising, whatever. But they haven't had to overcome the challenges, right? It's kind of like if you think everything in life is going good, you should just be ready. Like the punch in the face is coming, right? Same. That's how it is in business. And the fact when you feel most sort of bulletproof is when you're most vulnerable normally, right? And so this is a great opportunity, because I know a lot of people, and dude, I talk to real estate agents literally every day. In fact, tomorrow I'll have like 35 of the top real estate agents in the country in a room a couple hundred feet away from where I'm sitting now to do an all-day mastermind. And so I know what's going on with other business owners from around the country. And stuff's challenging. And I think the ability to adapt and get past your natural level of business acumen and your natural level of talent in running your business right now is such a great opportunity. A lot of people, like I've already seen them quit. We're only a year into this.
Yeah.
Like I remember our mastermind last April, we were talking about, it feels like things are starting to change. So we're let's say we're a year into this now, even though it's probably more like 9 months really into it. I've already seen people quit, and I've seen business partners, split up, and I've seen businesses fall apart, seen people leave the industry already. And I'm like, 18 months ago, life was amazing. You thought you were on top of the world, and you already just decided to take your ball and go home.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it is like being able to survive and literally just like keep going. There's a lot of value in that. And trying to get better in each of those, but literally surviving is a big key. So I think as a leader, an entrepreneur, you got to be willing to accept responsibility. You got to take responsibility, first of all, for your own actions. Like, no doubt about that. If you're actually an entrepreneur where you're going to build a business, like that's more than just your own actions, then you've got to just like, you have to be great at generating real estate sales, right? Which, by the way, that's the biggest problem most of us have. Like, we think we got good at that and we didn't. Because until you do that, you don't actually have any other problems. Like, that's the only problem. But then once you do, you have to get equally as good at like recruiting and hiring and training people to work with you, and developing people. And almost like the problem is like, let's say you become an amazing real estate agent, Ross, and you are out there killing it. You're highly productive. And, let's say it takes you 5 years or 10 years in the industry to go from got my license to that guy. The problem is you got to go back to being a beginner to do the same thing when it comes to recruiting, hiring, and training and retaining people. And most people don't want to start over because their ego can't handle it. Some people don't do it because their lifestyle can't handle it. They can't afford to make less money. But most people also won't do it because they're afraid to be a beginner again and look stupid.
I love that.
That is powerful. So true.
Man.
Keep going, Chris. Yeah.
No. I just like, I wish we had a little button here again. Ba-bam. Because, dude, that's like that's fucking everything.
That is everything, dude. Literally.
We can stop the show right now, cut the microphone, and be like, Kevin, thank you for wrapping the show up. We're good, everybody.
Dude.
Right? Literally. Just let your fucking ego out of the way, because you just can't admit you don't want to do this.
Honest to God too. Like, I related so much to that because, I built a team, I'm obviously here at EXP, and, when you're just the agent, like you said, the beginning part is just getting the sales, getting the business going, getting things going. But when you really look up the ladder at the end all be all of where everyone's trying to go, it is, they have to learn a level, whether you're just a broker and you're not recruiting, you're still finding the staff. Whether you're a team, you got to get the ISAs, you got to get, the people that are doing all your systems and training in the back end. You have to learn how to recruit, retain, and train, and do it over and over again. And then, we look at that process and it feels so unfamiliar that sometimes we're trying to figure out what we're trying to recruit for and then fill out the role that, we lose sight of, like, man, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where I'm going. I don't know why I'm even going here. I just know this is the next step. How do I do it? And then we just quit sometimes. I mean, people,
and it's even worse now, because for the last couple of years, you've been getting good results.
Yeah.
Just because the market's been easy.
Yeah.
Like people thought it was hard. It was hard. Like an extreme seller's market is never fun for anybody, but it's not hard to make money. It just takes long hours, right? It's not difficult. And the reality is like, it has felt so easy. So now that it's like a little bit hard, people want to quit. Like, I see so many people come to me with the same problems of, they think they're just not good at hiring people, or they're just not good at, running a team, or they talk themselves into thinking maybe they're just not meant to have a team or whatever. And I'm like, well, you're just not meant. Like, you just haven't made the decision yet that your goal is what it is, and you're going to do what it takes to become that person. And like, the reality is it's just not, just because sales got easy does not, I mean, dude, when I think back in my business, like I told you, I got licensed in 2007. My third deal ever was a short sale. And then my next 1,000 transactions were pretty much all short sales.
Wow.
This business got hard for me in 2012 and 13, when short sales were no longer the norm. I had to learn how to become a good salesperson. So I had to literally start over.
Wow.
And I had that was the hard part for me. Even though I'd done 1,000+ deals, I had to go start over again.
Yeah.
And I did that. And I remember, like, in fact, when we're done, I have a call with my coach, who was my coach back then too. And his wife, I remember, like, he's more of like a business coach, but his wife's a real estate coach. And I remember, like, I had to get on the phone with her a few times so she could help me with like listing appointment scripting. And I would be on the phone, no exaggeration, I would be on the phone with her on my way to listing appointments. Like, I could get the listing appointments. We knew how to generate leads. I knew how to close for the appointment. I couldn't close the listing at the appointment for a traditional listing. And until I could, like, I had to battle through it. I had to do it a lot. And I wanted to quit. Don't get me wrong. It was hard, but then I got good. Then I got so good at it. I was like, let's go. Like
now you don't even need the presentation. You just walk in and it's, you get it done.
Let's go.
Yeah.
And by the way, I would specifically try to let the seller let me cancel their other listing appointments. I took such great pride in calling the other agent or two that they had lined up for an interview and saying, Chris, hey buddy, this is Kevin. I just wanted to let you know your appointment tomorrow at 2 with Mr. and Mrs. Jones, it's canceled, dude. We just signed listing paperwork. But I promised them, Chris, because you are a good guy and have a good reputation in the community, that you would get first crack before the home hits the MLS. So
Nice.
I would literally, like, take such great pride in that. Like,
I love that.
So yeah,
That's
dude,
awesome.
you got to be willing to start over, and you've got to be willing to go back to being a beginner.
Yeah.
God, it's so crazy. And the reason why, Kevin, you and I have had several conversations at several events where we sat there outside the patio. We've talked about my life, my situation, and all these little challenges. Because let's fast forward a little bit. Sorry, Ross. I want to fast forward a little bit. Let's go to the EXP thing now.
Yeah.
Because now you've entered the EXP thing, and then obviously now you and Fred have really changed your whole parameters of what you're doing. And you're building now a massive organization. I mean, we're following the footsteps like Brent Gove and Gene Frederick, and we're building that in piece, right? And so now that's a change. That's a change too, right? From transactional real estate business, run a team, to I'm just going to go recruit. On some levels, it's very similar, but on other levels, it's very different. But the challenges we're having now is, like, even you and I've had conversations, and I want to go back to what you said, because this, like, hit the spot for me about starting over. In 2016, when we got here with Brent, that was me coming from nothing but running companies, ran my own company, ran Keller Williams. I mean, it's all I was doing was running companies. I wasn't doing production at all for years, probably a good 10 years, zero production. And then when I got into EXP in 2016, I instantly had this freaking crazy brain fart that I got to go back to being a realtor. right? It wasn't like I came to EXP thinking all these amazing concepts of the revenue share. And, and Brent was like, what, WTF? What are you doing, bro? You're here for that and you're selling real estate, and I instantly jumped into realtor mode, and it was
That's
like,
funny.
whoa. But it was challenging for me to go and start from ground zero. And it really hit me to the core when you said that about starting over. Your ego, like, I don't want to start over. I've been in this business now for, at that point, almost 16 years, plus. And like, dude, start over? No. So it's a very humbling experience. And now moving forward, when I talk about that, coming into this method of just now recruiting and building my business, there's a lot of focus there that I'm now learning to refocus on. And so that just hit me to the core. But I do want to talk about, can we switch to chairs a little bit? Let's talk about the shoot on the other foot. What does it look like now for you on this recruiting model, the building the EXP team? What does that look like in transition out of now the real estate side, like you've mentioned? Can you kind of give us a little bit on that?
Yeah, so we've built a group. It's been good to us. We're a little over 2,000 people in our group.
Amazing.
I remember texting you and Ben the day I hit 1,000.
Yes, I remember that, bro.
Because that was such a big number for me, like a big milestone. So we're just a hair over 2,000 now, and here's what I've really learned, Chris, is like I've really learned that like recruiting at EXP, it really isn't recruiting. It's building a community. That's all that's the way I've decided to play the game. And I'll put it that way. Some people are good recruiters. I'm not sure that I am, but I'm really good at community building and relationship building. And so that's the way I've decided to play the game. And I get to do that. And EXP pays me handsomely for it. And so, I mean, I love it. Like I absolutely love it, because what it allows me to do, all the stuff about running a team day to day that I didn't love, none of that's there within the EXP world, right? All the stuff that I do love about owning a team is there within the EXP RevShare group, the sharing of ideas. I don't really coach people, but I try to mentor as many as possible. And we gather frequently, like we do a couple Zooms a week, one Zoom a week on production, one Zoom a week on actually building RevShare and recruiting. And so I love it, dude. Like for many reasons, I love EXP because it actually I believe that EXP is the only company that cares about the future for us as agents. I believe that EXP is the best opportunity for us as agents. And I believe that because it puts us all in alignment together, it truly is the most beneficial thing for a real estate agent on the planet. And so because of that, like sort of one of my core beliefs as just a human being is sharing, right? I believe in, if I give you something, Chris or Ross, or if I help you, I'm going to end up getting more for, not like you're going to pay me or directly give me back something. Maybe you do, maybe you don't, but I believe I get more by giving more. And so, and I like systems that are set up like that. And it just happens to be that that's the way EXP is rigged. It's rigged for us to help each other out. Like it's the greatest system on the planet.
Oh my God. It's like monetize an opportunity to actually spread your knowledge and share for once, right? Which is completely polar opposite if we understand the model of real estate traditionally, right?
Yeah.
It's that closed door office, sitting in a corner, top producer. I got all my concept system ideas, what made me successful, but I'm sure not going to share it with you. Because
well, unless I charge you, right?
Yeah, unless I charge you.
That's the other thing too, is like I just don't want to. I don't know. I mean, I could coach people. I could do event. I just don't necessarily want to swipe my friends' credit cards, right? For the sake of sharing what I've got. And so I love this system because it allows us to be more of who we are naturally as human beings, which is givers and community members. And it's and again, it just happens to pay really nicely.
I like that. You said that naturally it helps those that are givers, and for that small select, because I won't say across the board, everybody in this universe is the giver mentality, but for those that are, this is a great addition to be able to really take your vision and goals and legacy of who you really are into the next level.
Yeah. My friend Joe Polish wrote a book recently called What's in It for Them. And in that book, he wrote, it was something I've heard him say hundreds of times, which is life gives to the giver and takes from the taker. I think most humans naturally are givers. We don't all show up that way. We don't all embrace that, but most people naturally want to be a giver. And so that's why I think, that's why I think this works so well, is because we're talking about human beings, right? At the end of the day, real estate's one of those businesses that is built on people. And because I do think most people are good and most people want to give, that's why this company's taken off the way it's taken off, and it has proven what it's already proved.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah. So, Kevin, how long? So you got 2,000 people probably plus in your organization. At what point did you come to EXP and arrive? Like what year roughly?
June of 2018. I mean, I can just tell you exactly June 11th of 2018, because that day changed my life.
Yeah.
I love that, man. So 5 years in this organization, essentially, you've built 2,000 people within that organization by, like you said, giving back, really coming from a place of contribution. I mean, that's a legacy piece, man. That's freaking awesome. Like when I hear that just fires me up. When I see guys like Chris, when I meet guys like you, I mean, 2,000 people in your organization that you get to give back to and empower their lives. I mean, man, that's just awesome stuff, dude. I mean, there's no other place that you can do that to the level that you can do within EXP, right?
True.
Yeah. It really, that's the beauty of the model.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that it really is designed to bring more of that, like that. And that's the beauty of it.
Isn't that crazy? Like we never in a million years would have thought that was the preface of what this real estate was about until EXP came on the scene. And now we've created this whole nother environment and thought process of what real estate can mean to you and to you and to you and to you. Like, I feel like we're Oprah. Everybody gets a house.
So that's the other, to me. So Chris, that you just hit another interesting point. That's the other beautiful thing I believe about EXP is because it is like you and you and you and you. There isn't like this one model. Like, listen, I had I have a lot of good stuff and some not so good stuff to say about KW and my time there. However, the one thing that is, KW is not the only company guilty of it. A lot of other companies are, is that like, it was presented as a way, like there's really only one way to do things, right? Like there's the model and then there's not the model. And if you weren't doing the model, then you don't get highlighted. You don't get, you don't get stage time. You don't get any love or anything like that. Whereas at EXP, we kind of embrace the weirdness of the fact that there's a lot of different ways to do things, right? There's not this one way, this one prescription for being massively successful in real estate. There's actually a lot of different ways. And I think that EXP sort of being like, kind of being like the outcast for so long and just embracing people doing things differently is really shown up in the culture of like, actually come over here. You don't have to do things this way just because that's what this coaching company says to do or this book says to do. Just come over here and be you, and we're going to help you, support you in any way that we can.
Yeah, I love that. That's a good point. It really is. I didn't really think about it that way either. And I want to use this analogy. It's probably wrong, but like organized religion. Is that wrong to say that?
I don't think that's what, dude.
I mean, kind of like you come here and you follow this, that, and the other. You list this rule, that only be successful if you're this way, but if not, you're not. And it's kind of that.
Sure.
I mean, would that be similar?
No, I don't think it's similar. I think it's dead on. I think it's 100% accurate.
Yeah.
Like that's a great analogy. And that's not me, shitting on organized religion or on Keller Williams or any other brokerage company for that matter. But it is very much a reality. And when you take a step back and look at it, you're like, yeah, it's probably done very purposefully too. Like there's a lot of
everything is right.
There's a lot of power and strategy in that. Like there's a lot of power.
If you want to do this right here, I want to kind of do that one. 100%. Right. It's all given for a reason and it's designed that way. So
sorry, my wife just opened up the back of the office door there.
My
kids were like looking at me like, Dad. I'm like, honey, I thought we're on the podcast. We're live on the air. This is real.
It's okay. It's real. It's family time.
I want to segment into that though. So I think that's also too why there's that stigma, right, of EXP, right? Is because we are so quote unquote different and we do explore all these new ideas and have all these new concepts and go about things that are just different. the religious side or the, hey, this is how you do the business, it takes people a second to really fully understand that this does work and it can be a thing, right? So like, was there ever a hump for you to overcome to come to EXP when that was presented to you? Or was it just like, hey man, this is a good decision?
Ross, I spent a year actively avoiding EXP.
Yeah, I did.
So
I remember this story.
The part of my story that I didn't share with you is like, so in fact, it was April. God, it might have been April 19th. I'd have to go look at the email. In April of 2017, I realized I probably wasn't going to be at Keller Williams much longer.
Okay.
And later that year, in the summer of 2017, I started looking. My business partner and I started looking for our next brokerage home. All the while literally actively avoiding learning about EXP. Like I avoided it at all costs. And then fast forward, conversation with this person, another conversation with that person. And, so it's May of 2018 now. Go to lunch with my friend and our sponsor, Curtis Johnson. And Curtis had moved over and he made the decision in December of 17. And, but he had moved over in like January of 18. And he was telling us like what his experience had been like so far at EXP. And we're like, all right, tell us about it. So he did. And dude, it wasn't even 30 days later that we were over.
Wow.
Or it was 30 days later. And it had been sooner, except one of our very key team members was out of the country for that whole month, literally. And so, almost instantly, once I actually decided to be open-minded and look at the model, and I went, oh my God, this is perfect. This is exactly what we're looking for. We were gone.
That's awesome. That's awesome.
Isn't that funny how things work in life, right? You were completely against it, like totally pro against not wanting to hear about EXP on purpose.
Yeah.
And
Same.
then all of a sudden,
purposely avoided it, man. I just avoided it. And so I'll tell you what so that cost me a lot of money, which hurts. Like I could probably be Curtis Johnson's sponsor. So you could do the math on that, considering he's like got the 6th or 7th largest group in the company. So it costs a lot of money being closed-minded and not being willing to just like really hear something out. And because of that, though, like it's helped me to be a lot more open-minded in things where I've got some rigidity in my thought process for whatever reason, and to really like challenge that thinking. And so there's some good out of it, a lot less money because of it, but there's some good out of it, and some really good lessons that have come from that.
Heck yeah. Those $1,000 lessons, man, right? Yeah. They cost, but they definitely pay off longer, in the long run. That's great. Yeah, myself, I can relate to that a lot. I looked at EXP for 3 years. I sat back and just observed. And my senior, business partner that I have today, thank God for his willingness to keep presenting the opportunity to me until I had that light bulb aha moment. But I kept on setting these benchmarks based on what people were telling me, like, no, you got to have this much in production and this many people on your team before you can come over and all this stuff. And then I finally hit the benchmark, and then I sat there and I looked back at like the 3 years I wasted, and I'm like, okay, I have the team now. I have the production. All right, I'm ready to come over. But then I'm like, dude, I just missed out on thousands of dollars because the last 3 years while I was waiting to get here, I would have iconed every single year and I would have still been able to build my business and come from a place of contribution. So I think that sometimes we talk ourselves out of those great opportunities, like you say, just because of a lack of belief or understanding. And it's cool to see you say, hey, no, man, it only took me 30 days. Like after looking at it a year, then boom, I was there. Yeah.
It's crazy. Everything happens for a reason in life, right? And now we're here where we are, and that's what's amazing. I get a chance to meet people like Kevin in a million years. I would have never met Kevin Kauffman. Honestly, Kevin, we probably never would have met. I mean, you're over in Arizona. I'm over in California. I never would have met Ben. I never met a lot of people, a lot of amazing freaking people in this company that EXP has brought our relationship together. And I'm grateful for Kevin, man. I love this dude to death. And I'll do anything for him. I'll fly out and help you do whatever. And he would too in a heartbeat. Like he's always been there. Kevin's never said no to me. Never.
Wow.
Except for one time, I asked him for $50. He did tell me no over that one time, but he was kidding.
You were a vendor. I couldn't say yes. Couldn't enable you.
Well, I hope this was of value to everybody. I want to keep this down. We're down towards the end here. Always an amazing opportunity to spend time with Ross and myself as co-hosts. But we add guests like Kevin Kauffman, it's even more a powerful experience. Your story, your journey, your lessons, man, your vulnerability, your transparency, just to show that you're a human being is amazing. And I appreciate you from the bottom of my heart for joining the cast today and sharing your story, because I hope it's valuable to those who are listening today. But
thanks, brother. Me too. I appreciate it, and hopefully it helps someone. And always look forward to the chance to hang out with you.
Oh, absolutely. We probably need to stay in touch more often. I'm my fault too. I mean, I'm just as guilty of it. So I'll make it a point to at least reach out and send text to you.
Hey man, Kevin, it's good to meet you, dude. And I got to say, just in the short time that we've had together, I mean, I took away a ton. I know the listeners did too. And you got a powerful story, man. I mean, just your, ability to go all in and keep on just pushing through and figuring out what works and what doesn't work. It was inspiring to hear. So keep up the great work, man. Can't wait to meet you in person.
Yeah, same here, Ross. I appreciate that, and looking forward to meeting you in person as well. And thanks for letting me hang out with you guys for the last hour.
Oh, yeah.
Awesome, man. Love it, brother. All right, guys, again, until next week, have an amazing week, and we love you all. Thanks a lot.